demonetization. And your book talks about how you were tasked with defending demonetization on the anniversary of it, but you eventually sort of tweeted saying that, look, let's move on from this. And you concede in your book that the implementation, the planning was poor. It caused a lot of suffering. You also raise a very interesting little nugget in the book about Raghuram Rajan. Now, Mr. Rajan has said to many people, including to me, that he had flagged his opposition to demonetization. Your book talks about a question in Parliament that the government had to answer. What did Raghuram Rajan say actually on demonetization? And you get a call not just from the Prime Minister's office, but you also get a reply from the RBI in a sealed cover. So without giving away more, I'm going to let you tell that story. Go ahead, Mr. Garg.
See, whenever any question is raised in the Parliament concerning any department, in this case, the Department of Economic Affairs, we would ask for the information from the concerned agencies in the department. So in that case, since the question was about whether whether any such note was given by Mr. Raghuram Rajan to the Prime Minister, so we needed to ask it from the PMO as well as the RBI. So PMO said we don't have any paper on this, right? And the RBI sent me that, which I have quoted in the book, which essentially said that there was a discussion in the Prime Minister's office when Mr. Raghuram Rajan visited them, and obviously he might have taken some note with him, or he couldn't have only talked about from memory, so there must have been some note. But that note, what they recorded was that when they came back to the Reserve Bank of India, the governor asked one of the, I think it was general manager, to record a note and keep that base note or whatever in their custody, and that is where it was inside the RBI. So the note did not say whether Raghuram Rajan left any note in RBI in the PMO or not. It also did not say that note in RBI exists or not. This was only the covering note which existed. And that covering note said this, that he went, had a discussion, came back, asked me to record, this is what it is, and this is what. So when I received this.
But the note didn't actually record what was said in that discussion, or did it? Because the book doesn't tell you that.
It did also. It did not. It is in official, we have a covering note sheet or something of that effect, where you just record that he met him, this matter was discussed, and the base note which he has taken is kept here, and I've been asked to keep it in my custody. That's all. Now that note was also not by that time with the current general manager, and therefore we concluded that this is something very problematic. If we retain this with us, then there would be a record which will say that we had something. Whereas we were not even a party to that. So I decided to send it back to them without keeping it with us. So it went back to the RBI. PMO said we don't have, and therefore we responded to the effect that there is no note available to that.
Okay, you missed the demonetization sort of challenge, but you did have to oversee a situation where ATMs were running dry. You did have to handle the sort of discussion around the scrapping of the 2,000 rupee note. So talk a little bit about that, sir.
No, I think the book describes it very well. There was a situation for 2,000 rupees note. This was incongruous. It was resorted to because it happened to be in print for a decision which was taken completely unconnected as far as the demonetization issue was concerned. Because at one point of time, the RBI had made a proposal that we should have 10,000, 5,000, 2,000 rupees note, because in India the 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees note were actually much smaller. If you take the dollar value of that, it's only about $13 or $6 or $7 for the respective notes. Now, if you have your largest currency as such a small one, the RBI felt, and I agree with that, that you need to have higher denomination, and that in that the government agreed only for 2,000 rupees note to be printed, not 5,000, not 10,000. So 2,000 note was being printed separately. But if you have a demonetization decision based on the premise that 1,000 rupees note and 500 rupees note is big notes, susceptible for being used to store or hoard black money, then you can't use 2,000 rupees note by logic. But when you have 85% of your currency taken out of the system, you need something to replace. So whatever was available as handy was taken, and about 7.5 lakh crores worth of 2,000 rupees note were printed. But this was very clear, and I entirely agree. If you have that philosophical view that 500 rupees and 1,000 rupees note is a very high denomination note, the 2,000 rupees note, whenever it serves its temporary purpose, will have to go out of circulation. So it did
So
serve
you're saying the scrapping of the 2,000 rupee note was a natural extension of the demonetization decision?
Yes, except that ironically it was a product of demonetization, and that had to be demonetized itself. So, but again, currency remonetization is not a one-shot affair. It takes time, and therefore, and you need another replacing notes, right? So
What
that
do you
is
what do you what do you look back at as your most difficult time? Was it that time when the ATMs ran dry? Was it something else? When you look back at that time when you felt nervous about what would happen next? You saw images like this. The ATMs were dry. Like I said, you missed the sort of initial challenges of demonetization. Those were not your responsibility. But when you look back at your tenure, what was your most difficult phase?
God's grace, I never feel anything to be a situation where I need to lose my cool or I have to feel nervous. So I never felt nervous.